And this
But
says,
see, this is just a book that Sandy made. This is not one of Mother's.
Okay.
This is not one of Mother's books. So this is just a conglomeration of books.
okay.
Now that's
Now, I don't
an
have
earlier
that
picture of
That's
Dad. I don't
Dated
have-
September
Jerry?
23,
I think so.
You have that picture?
No, I
I
don't.
I
don't
think
have
it's
that
Jerry
picture.
with the pipe
Oh,
in his
Jerry.
Well, we ought to have some stick-it notes if you
Oh,
want.
that's
all
his
these
son,
things
that's
here?
right. That's right.
Mr. Mora, Herb's
His name was
First
Jerry.
Fire,
Was his son.
Notion Department,
This is right here.
1925. That must be George Moore.
And Ruth?
You did it.
I don't know, I can't see it.
They must have been in the woods or camping or something, okay.
Oh, I don't know who that
Two
is.
baby rolls are they?
Ruth? I don't-
Here are my
I
best
don't know.
wishes, and who is
I don't
it?
know who that is.
Well, see, one of the things happened is Sandy was a
We're playing
photographer.
a game
at
here.
Wedding.
Fancy, no,
Oh.
not weddings, at fancy nightclubs.
Ah,
And stars would come in.
so that must be a star.
That must be a star.
Ruth Roland? Ruth
Roland.
Roland.
Could you Google Ruth
Jerry,
Roland?
did you-
Sure, we have the
Jerry, did you
internet
say
right
that she
here.
used to sell cigarettes?
R-O-L-A-N-D.
She took
Them
pictures.
photographer.
Yeah, she took pictures of them, right.
Yeah,
I still have some pictures.
yeah.
on
Do
there.
Ruth Roland,
Roland.
R-O-L-A-N-D. This was taken in 1934.
Show us the power of Google, Karen.
All right.
Oh, well, wait a minute, no, this is
Sent
to
to
her for being so nice to her at the store. Wait, customers come. She looks like, well,
She looks like she was
she should have been a movie
aspiring,
star.
yeah, maybe that's one of her
Yes.
headshots. We don't know if she was a movie star or not.
Yeah, well, according to Wikipedia, there was a Ruth Roland,
And there's their wedding photo.
died in 1937, who was an American stage and film actress and film producer.
There you go,
Okay,
that's her.
Is there any value in an old picture of her? We have a picture to sell.
Try
Let's see if,
eBay.
you know, pictures, eBay,
You
Ruth
gotta
Roland.
remind her children, maybe her children would like to see that picture.
Right. They
Right.
don't- As if they don't have lots of
And there's their wedding photo.
Yeah.
That's a very neat photo.
Did you realize she is like the same age as some of our grandchildren now?
Who,
Oh, we see the
Sandy?
page, okay.
I,
No, Ruth
the
Roland.
person in that picture.
No.
No, it couldn't be,
No,
because she
yeah.
died in 3 years later.
This
I know.
is
The aide in the picture.
May Company Picture, but we don't know who that is.
And Sandy.
Is that Sandy?
Yeah, that's Sandy.
Oh,
No, she
for
was
heaven's
called
sake.
Sealed then.
You're right.
Steel,
6
Sandy, Cherry.
weekly bond winners.
Irving Aronson.
Irving Aronson, right there. There's Irving Aronson.
There's a cute one on
There's
your
Irving
right.
Aronson. World War II bond efforts, okay.
Okay.
Alan, Jerry,
How you been?
This one was
That
born.
one.
Alan, Jerry, Rose Arlene, yeah, and she got to.
Canvas
No, I think-
painted. That's art in
This
itself,
is
and they're
when,
very
this
expensive.
I
Tessie
believe me, I
Goldwater.
know.
Some have like
Retired.
$300-400, and that's
Because
without
that-
the threads.
I guess that's
And
Yeah,
her.
that's
A lot
without
of-
the threads,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's
And
just
without
the
putting
the design is by a famous
And-
artist,
Just needs a
yeah.
little-
The,
This
what's
one
really
here.
popular
This-
right
this is
now
Tessie.
is
Oh,
soybeans. Taking
Oh,
the
this is
stalks
Tessie.
and making
Oh,
different
okay.
threads now out of the soybean stalk, so that there's not a part of a bean. I mean, I'm sure the roots are used for something. I mean, it's just amazing.
Well, they're always
That
mixed
isn't-
feelings.
I made collar
How's that?
tabs
She
for
felt that she
when the
held
kids get bat
Dad
mitzvah.
back
They
So
have
we-
their
by
towels.
not letting him
And the bag
acquire
thing.
someplace
And
else.
That
I
beautiful
made them
So
stool-
she got her
right.
work done by
And I've
him.
made
She,
them bags
of course,
for
felt she was
their,
protecting him.
I made up my
She
shoe
was
bags
his,
for their,
his
for their
Oh,
collar
my
tabs.
God.
And next time if,
He
you know,
was the assistant
okay,
manager.
there won't be anything actually, till Maris. But,
When we're out, next time we're out west, we'll stop by.
well, I don't have any of them, because I made.
Oh, the
I
kids
You
made
made them
one-
and gave them away.
I made them, originally I made one for Sid and Mark and Ron, and they were,
So these must be pictures and when this Ruth Reach.
Yeah.
Did Julie have a?
Yeah.
I had about this one.
Right.
Remember the story about them taking off for a year and going in the car business?
So I did,
On their own.
Chuck was the first one to be bat mitzvah. So I made him one, and then I made
And then Hegel, so they can't come back.
Right.
and I made,
And Bob tells that.
between the time, while I was making Jake's,
Tells that story.
his bat mitzvah was gonna be in October.
You still have a copy of that?
Yeah.
Before
Still
that
got it.
was Julie's birthday in August. And sometime around, maybe February or March of that year, I realized that she was gonna be 44. No, 43. She was gonna be 43, which was like the 30th year after her bat mitzvah was 13. And I realized I had never made her one, and I made her one.
You probably caught off guard. That's
Yeah,
good.
really caught off guard, so in between it I made it. And I designed all of them,
Oh my gosh.
because I'm too cheap to spend $200
It's crazy. No.
Oh,
for somebody
yeah.
else's picture.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's nuts.
So, right, so I would, for Judd's, whose was the
And for like
first-
a quarter, you can buy the canvas. I mean, the canvas is next to
Right,
nothing.
right. And so for Judd's was the easiest one. I found the Chagall window, because Judah would be like Judd, and so I found a picture of the Chagall window. I blew it up the size I wanted it.
Traced it?
I traced it on, and I made the palette.
That's funny because
Now
that's
that
what
you
the
did all
shops do.
that work,
Is that right?
we have a program that we got for our
This
friend
Ron's wedding?
uh,
69.
Jean, who
69.
cross-stitched all the
No,
time.
no, no, no,
But
no.
it's a computer program.
Ron
And it
Ron
makes
was
the
born in
canvas-
1960.
You scan the picture, and then it gives you a pattern. So that you
If
can
I send you a
superimpose
picture, you could
if
do that
he
for me.
knows where it still is. And yeah.
I don't know why we're all-
It was Judd's.
That program that we did for Jean, because she wanted to do a cross stitch of a Belden Galloway house, so we took a picture.
Did she get it done?
All the kids, that's.
Yeah,
Oh, I thought that's it.
I think the program's still around.
Who ended up being our next door neighbors when we moved to that street. Am I on the wrong street?
No, you were right.
Had kittens, so we brought home kittens. And
more than one.
yeah, we brought home 2 kittens. And after a few days, I said to the kittens, I said to the kids, I says, it's the kittens, your mama. I says, I had never had such allergy problems in my life as I had then.
Uh-oh, did they meet and vote?
And so, I
I
said,
don't think it was a democracy.
no, right, no. And
That was a
so
rhetorical
then
question.
I said to my mom, I said, I don't understand. I said, we had Snooki and Tiger, Snookums and Tiger, Snooki and Tiger, right? Snookums and Tiger, these cats when we were kids. I says, how did we have those if I was so allergic to cats? She said to me, she says, you think they really ran away? I mean, it's,
You were just a kid, what do you know?
Yeah.
but we had them for a long time. But you guys must have.
We had them for a little while.
But I
I
can
remember
picture this.
grabbing a few out on the road and bringing them in.
Like runaways or
Strays.
Runaways.
Yeah.
Strays.
It was a nice little kitten, so I just brought it home.
But that would go well.
But I remember, but I can picture these cats perfectly in my mind, what they looked like. Can't picture a lot of other things, but I can remember what the cats. Oh, it's funny.
My first memory of Nana, not, I don't know if it's first or not, but early memory, is that she always seemed to have these parties and invited everyone to them, like to talk about birthday parties. And whether it be a Jewish holiday or a birthday or whatever it might be. And the house, which, you know, had a nice sized living room and a dining room, just full of people. Just full of people, that kind of thing. And it was really neat. And, yeah, so it was nice.
In the backyard full of people.
In the backyard full of people, that's true.
A lot of the parties of you kids are out in the backyard, and then there's just people and kids all over the place.
Has no relation to Nana, but there was a nice swing in that backyard.
Yeah.
Remember that swing?
I
I used to go back there.
pictures of the,
Yeah.
I guess recently I saw pictures of, I think all the ants and locals and someone around that's really. But speaking of that aspect of Nana, we had our, I think it had to be the 50th reunion of high school, which I didn't go to, but I had sent an email in, and so they put your name and your email in the thing they sent out. You get an email from a guy, toward the next night or the morning, John Fagan, who lived down the street. Now, I remember him as living down the street. I don't honestly remember him being in my senior class, but he obviously was.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he and his younger brother, Eddie, were always invited to all these parties. And he said, you know, your mother was the greatest person. Because, and he sent me a picture he had one of these parties. And he said, and he said he remembered that mother had taken both he and his brother to these circus. When we all went to the circus.
Wow.
Here, what, 70 years later, he remembers that.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah,
That's really neat.
that reminds me of another story too. I have I have a couple friends now who I was friends with in elementary school
Cool.
and middle school and high school. And after Mom died, they sent me notes, and they, I don't know if I can go through this. They all said that they loved coming to our house because it was like a real family. And they didn't have that in their own home. And my mom had taught them how to knit and how to sew and how to cook. And, I mean, I never realized that it was
doing all that.
It was doing,
Yeah.
that it was anything different.
It could be any different.
But Bobby Colbert,
Yeah, her brother, Marshall.
Marshall, yeah,
And the joint,
and Sheila
Sheila Green.
Reese, and
Joni.
No, and Julie Mason. Oh, and no, it wasn't Julie, because Joni, in my 4-year-old birthday pictures, there is a girl who went to school with me before, when we lived on White House Place, and who was also went to Sinai Temple, because I started Sunday school when I was 4 years old. I wanted to go to Sunday school, and anyway, and I never. And then we moved, and then this girl, Joni Gibbons, went to LA High School, and when we were in LA High School, so it was kind of sorry again, but we were never really friends. And then shortly we were in Temple Beth Hillel when we started Havarad groups. She ended up in the same group as us, so now, and so we kind of reconnected as
After
as
all
adults.
these years.
After all these years.
And we're not talking in Pecatonica, we're talking in LA.
Right, and so
exactly.
it's interesting. So I mean, I found this picture of her when she was 4 years old.
Wow.
Anyway,
That's
it's my yeah.
You know, it's not related to Mother's Day, but I'll tell you a story about Grandpa. And that is, it seemed to me that whenever Arlene and I were dating, I would drive up to her front of her house, he'd be standing on the front porch waiting for us.
Oh, yeah. At the end of the date or at the beginning?
At the end of the day.
Okay. We wanted to
And
kiss her.
then whenever I or both of us were to leave the house, he would come out on that front porch and say goodbye to us on the front porch. And I can't remember if it bothered me at the time or not, but anyways, I do exactly the same thing now.
It was when we came up with, who was waiting for us when we came up to visit with the children.
Okay, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when we were, and whenever we were coming to visit, it was always out there waiting.
Anyways, I do the
Children,
same
it wasn't-
thing with my children now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I anticipate them, and then when they leave, I go out to them. I walk them to the car even, kind of thing.
And you know, you make me think of those, oh, if I will never do this. And then 20 years later, I'm doing the exact same
Same
thing. I
thing.
said I
Never
would do.
do, yeah.
But there's good reason for it.
Yeah.
I mean, just that you want to.
When you were a teenager, you didn't understand that there
Yeah.
was a good reason. Yeah.
Ellen, how about your first memory of Mommy?
Ushering at the Philharmonic downtown LA.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
People rush out, be an usher for musicals. Mainly
Wow.
that I remember, and I sat in the chair and waited till everybody was there, and we just watched the entertainment.
Right. We
Yeah,
saw
we all
that.
did that.
We saw,
Yes.
right, and that's what my friend.
I don't know how we got there though.
On the bus.
We probably got the bus or
We all
the
took the
streetcar.
bus, the street, we took the red line, red car took the right there. But that's what the other thing my friends remembered, is that she also took them up to Usher, that they saw those things.
Wow. That's cool. How about your incident with your mom in the back seat and
And throwing it.
the gentleman of the law?
No, I think everybody's heard that.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know. What
Oh, yeah, you do.
I don't think I do.
I don't think I don't remember.
We were in
Driving south on Fairfax, approaching San Vicente,
and it's
we
not,
turned left to go towards the house.
but it said
And there's a
no.
no left turn sign there. And somebody in the back seat is saying, it doesn't matter, it's just there for not neighbors. Or whatever term.
Whatever, she
And I
just,
said, "No,
she
you can't."
insisted.
So I was convinced to do this, go in and
Followed
make a
his
left turn, followed closely by a LAPD squad car.
That's the story.
And the squad car, he comes up and says, "What do you do with Mason?" I said, "There's a sign there." And something to the effect of, I told her there's a sign there. I know it's not legal to do it, but if it were your mother, what would you do? And I didn't get a ticket.
I never heard that. So
Oh, yeah, that was, I was trying to think, couldn't even tell you what we were in LA for, but, because Al was driving, I was in the front seat, and Nana was in the back with, were you there, Charlie?
No.
I want to tell you,
No,
if it
but
was
I heard
on
the
Salmon
story,
Senate,
yeah.
and she was still on Cochran, they were still on Cochran?
I don't think so, I think this was after
Also in
she,
the apartments.
yeah, this
On
was
That
Stanley.
must be on
On
Stanley.
Yeah,
That
Stanley,
would have
yeah.
been Stanley then.
Yeah.
but she just, but mother, it says, no left turn, I'm not gonna turn. Turn, you can turn. So he did, as he said. Cop right behind us.
Didn't you put down the window and ask them to talk to her?
Yep.
So talk to her, she's the one that insisted I could
I
turn.
just did what my mom said.
Just did what mother said.
That's very funny.
Yes, how many people have ever driven when Nana drove?
Yeah.
Don't talk like that. I taught her how to drive.
You didn't tell her how to stop.
Yeah.
You didn't teach her how to
I don't
stop.
think anyone ever taught her. You tried to teach her.
I tried to teach her. She passed her test.
It was in 48
I know.
when she got the
She
car.
speeds up to the red light, then
50.
hits the brakes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and I remember one time Uncle Ray called and he said, "Well, your mother had another accident." And I was thinking of buying her a new car, but it doesn't pay to do that.
Sounds like Uncle Ray.
Thinking about a driver.
She was,
Well,
she was
have you heard the story how she learned how to drive? My father had this accident where he had this double compound fracture,
Yeah,
and she basically
she bought the
called
car,
up-
didn't she?
She called up and bought the car. They had it delivered, and she just got it and drove. I mean, what else to do? You just get it and drive. I don't think she ever got any better from it.
In spite of Sid's efforts.
You told me to do. Did you see Shirley back there?
Well,
Well, he tried.
In the green Dodge.
Arlene taught me how to drive.
That's another story.
We've heard that story.
I was 15 or something at the time. Maybe you all heard that story.
No, please.
Was that,
No.
were you legal to
I was
drive?
like 15 and we were downtown at May Company.
Downtown LA?
Yeah, in LA, downtown, and we had to drive home with 10 miles, 15
Only 9
miles.
million people there.
And Arlene says, "Why don't you drive?" I'll teach you. I said, "Well, sure, I'll drive." And I got back in the wheel. And we're driving, and somehow we got off Olympic
We were on a side street.
on a side street, and whether you said to turn right or left, I did the opposite, and we ended up right in the middle and hit a lamppost. It did a fair amount of damage to the car. And Arlene said, "Don't tell Mother. I'll say I was driving." And I don't know if she ever knew
I don't think she ever did
She
know.
never did.
Never did know that it was you driving?
I think she knows now.
I never did confess to that one.
it. It wasn't my fault. It's my older sister.
I told her
What
Did you tell her?
When did you
Yeah.
tell her?
years later.
Oh, you, I did, I
Uh,
did.
You got in trouble for getting in a car accident. And Aunt Arlene, your
You
sister
were in the
Arlene's
car
never had
now.
an accident.
I'm not sure we
No,
told
but
you.
I've heard the story.
I'm
I
not
just-
sure we ever told you.
We didn't tell anybody.
We didn't tell
We didn't tell, we didn't tell. In fact,
You can't believe he just told you now. Told us
Very
now.
much.
We both had good reasons not to tell you.
It must be running the family, because I know somebody else who used to drive over to May Company in the morning and get the Dodge that we had and drive it to high school and back to the May Company and
Before
park
she
it in
got
the
out of
lot with my own set of keys, and I'm like 13.
really? I never did
This is
that.
true confession.
This was true confessions.
Listen,
What would you have ever done if your mom or dad came walking and went out and recorded it stolen, for God's sake?
Well, I thought about that, but then it was scary one day because I was walking through May Company at the store there, and cousin Shirley saw me in the store, and she said, "What are you doing here?" Oh no, she saw me out with the car,
Oh,
and she didn't say anything to anybody as far as I knew.
It's not.
All right, let me understand. You were 13, and you'd walk over to.
I'd ride my bike to
You'd ride your bike to,
make
May
up.
Company
May
parking lot
Company
where
where
she
you're-
had the car parked.
and then you'd take that to school
Right.
because
that was cool.
that
Because it was BMOC.
all right.
Yeah.
And nobody stole your bike is the important thing.
That's what I remember.
Well, you had it there to go to ride back home.
Yeah.
You could have been.
Is this like the first time you've told anybody, or?
He
Yeah.
never told Charlie because
I have never heard that one. No,
Have you,
that's
did you
true.
know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Nobody's ever known.
Al, do
Well-
you have anything else you want to confess?
I think you did this when you were 13 because, I mean, where
I was
would you,
16, yeah, I was going to say.
I mean, I could understand maybe 15. 13?
I took the car one time down to the muffler shop and had cutouts made on the muffler system, for drag racing. And
Did she
it
notice?
was kind of noisy. She noticed and took the car up to the Dodge dealer and was complaining why it was so noisy. And the dealer told her that those pieces that we had put on were voided the warranty of the car.
Oh dear.
Uh-oh.
But that went over with not too much.
So did she know you did that?
Well, she
Yeah,
did after.
Eventually.
That one had to come out as soon as possible. I mean, I didn't tell her.
But she found out.
The Dodge dealer told me.
It was the Dodge
That
dealer.
terrible.
I
That's why I've never bought a
was
Dodge
forced
since
to
Forced to confess.
Now, were you over or under
Fess up.
16 at the time?
No, if he's
Could you
dra-
legally drive or?
had at that time.
yeah, if he's drag racing, hopefully he had a license.
Well, he had one for a short period of time until he got caught drag racing.
So you actually drag race?
But
Yeah.
drag racing in that Dodge wasn't very exciting.
So when were you drag racing?
Well, this was in Beverly Hills.
Your sister's getting concerned here.
No, I'm just trying to figure out. Was I gone? Was I not home
You
anymore?
were gone. If he was 16, you were gone.
Well, how much
7
older
years
are you?
difference, yeah.
7 years.
Sure.
Sure.
You were
You,
married.
were, you weren't
man.
there. You,
Yeah,
you
you were
didn't.
Berkeley.
Because these are all
You were married and Mark's on the way.
You know that I told you earlier this morning about driving 140 down the road?
Yeah.
It was in that Dodge.
Can't believe that dog.
Yeah, it went that fast.
If
It
you're going
was
downhill.
And it's around,
And he's got it all on
downhill
tape.
and around the curve.
That's funny.
Did you have to sit on a pillow to see over the steering wheel?
No.
He was tall and thin in those days.
Right.
Yeah.
He did.
No.
Oh,
Well, I thought we were
okay.
going
Who
to
can
talk
top
about
that?
men
Who
and
can
have
top
true
that one?
confessions here.
Yeah,
Anybody top that one?
yeah, but you know, you wonder.
Andy, what did you
I bet
do that we
I bet
never
Nana
knew
knew a
about?
lot of stuff you guys didn't know she knew too. Here we go. Here comes another good confession.
I smoked a cigarette once.
Why don't you let me move the camera? Because
We gotta make sure we get the right thing
No,
here.
I don't think I did do it. Yeah, I mean, right.
Well, I could tell you that story too.
Uh-oh.
Well, go right ahead.
Hey, he's recording this. Be careful.
Well, what the heck.
Uh-oh.
I used to smoke from 8 to 16.
8 years old, or
Yeah.
8 in the morning to.
In,
What do
When he
you
was
mean?
8 years
Well,
old.
military hours.
Oh, okay.
and I used
8
to
years
get
old?
cigarettes by, there was a shack up at the La Brea Tar Pits that had a cigarette machine in it. So you'd back up there and drop your quarter in and take it, and run around, smoke your Pall Mall cigarettes.
Why'd you stop?
The shack at the La Brea Tar Pits.
It was before it was developed.
Right.
That's-
That's
remember he
it's
took
still
his-
bubbled.
Yeah, he took his.
That's it, when you could walk up and drop something.
Listen,
into
Judy
it.
lost
Yeah.
a shoe in the La Brea Tar Pits.
On purpose?
Yeah, she was tiny. She lived like 3 blocks from there.
Try to remember that.
And I was trying to go. I was
Go home. She kind
going
of
for school.
Got a little close?
And I got just a little hooked. And I,
It is stuck.
well, I had to get
It was either that or stand there, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
We have statues
you
like
could
that.
be like the saber-toothed tigers.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that-
That was fun.
Does everyone know that you used to work at the pharmacy across from my company?
Oh, yeah.
Most of them
Yeah.
should know I did that.
Yeah.
I just learned last night that you studied pharmacy. Was this after you
During high school and
during high school? Okay.
junior high.
So before you
Or-
went to school.
High school and junior college.
Yeah, he worked at, what was their name?
Greenstein,
Green-
6010 Pharmacy.
Yep, 6010.
6010 was the
Address.
Address, yeah, what's your phone?
And it's kitty corner from the tar pits.
Mm-hmm.
So the tar pits don't bubble anymore?
They do, but they're all fenced.
Everything is
It's all
fenced.
fenced
It's all
in.
fenced.
Yeah,
There's a
they
little
like County
museum.
Art
There's a
Museum.
little museum. And just like we saw today,
They civilized it, in other words.
like we saw today where there was the paleontologists in that, were you in that dinosaur area where
Yeah.
they have the paleontologists? Well, they have an area like that where you can go and see people working and doing things with the fossils.
Okay.
I know, because once Tom was up during the summer and I didn't know why. And of course, that whole La Brea, that whole Park La Brea area is just,
Well, because they built the
it's just
museums
all,
there.
there's all sorts of, high rises there, and there's a whole new shopping center called The Grove, which is.
Already?
Well, that's where the old farmer's market was.
But I thought that area.
There is no farmer's market
No,
anymore?
there's a
It's still
small.
there.
it-
But I
It's all
thought the area
Yeah.
is very
Reduced.
black now because Fairfax High School, has won all these basketball championships, and
Well-
I thought the area has turned.
But not in, there's tons and tons of high-rise around where Pan Pacific used to be and in that La Brea, Park La Brea area. That's just,
Actually, there's a Holocaust memorial where Pan Pacific Theater used to be.
Oh, really? Okay, I remember going ice skating.
Right. How about the baseball,
Hollywood.
Hollywood Stars?
Go see the Hollywood Stars.
The
Yeah.
Los Angeles
Oh, good
Padres.
grief.
I remember one
The
time we used to go down
Holocaust
to
was
Wrigley
in
Field to see
Washington
LA Angels.
and
LA
Stephen got,
Los Angeles Angels.
was it
Somebody stole my binoculars there once.
not Ray Adler? He got the name.
I bet they only stole
Some-
those binoculars once
The
and no
little
more.
boy that he,
What's it?
I bet they never stole them a second time.
He said, you said they stole my binoculars once, and he was, never mind.
He's being
What
clever.
happened?
He's being literal.
Did you say Wrigley Field?
Yeah, it was we got a
Wrigley Field in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
down in.
Down
A
in the
pretender.
downtown area.
A pretender.
Not
Not a real
Yeah,
one.
it was on the east side, yeah.
There's only one real
And
Wrigley
then
Field.
there's the Catalina story.
Oh, the fish?
With the fish?
That's an
Yeah,
Anna
I'll
story,
learn
because
that.
she's the one that said, no, just leave it on the train. Or the boat. Where did you leave the fish? You was on the train.
Underneath the...
Because it wasn't stinking yet, probably, when you got off the boat. It didn't
Right.
smell till you got on the train.
I don't know what we would have done with them if we ever got them home.
Well, they probably wouldn't have been in very good shape. You could have buried them like
I
the
mean, they were-
Indians did to make things grow
They're
better.
little fish.
Oh, they were tiny little things?
Yeah, they weren't good.
Except when you and I went down, we were in Ensenada went fishing.
Yeah, that was the tuna.
We caught like a 20-pound
When
black
did
sea
you do
bass, I
that?
think it was, something like that. But Alan and I went on this all-day boat, and we were.
Makes it embarrassed just to think of it, huh?
You did that again.
And what else did you remember of that trip, Alan?
Seasick, barfing,
I don't
huh?
remember anything on that trip except that we stayed in a little, like a drive-in or motel rooms, kind of small and hotel size.
We were on this boat, and everybody was a serious fisherman except for Alan and I. I think he was a rod, they baited it, and we kind of threw it over. We're having fun. And we got in the school of something like, everybody's had a fish on their line. And half the people were walking around the boat this way, the other half the boat this way, and guys were cutting other people's lines, and they were swearing, cussing. We thought it was hilarious. And then one time we got into school of mackerel, and we're catching fish. We're having fun. And everybody says, "Get out of here! We want to catch whatever
Yeah,
tuna or whatever."
yeah, something bigger.
Well, you had a big enough one
so
to have
then
it frozen. And
So then I'm holding the rod, and all of a sudden it goes, and one of the Mexicans on board runs and grabs my rod And he goes this way and this way and this way. After 20 minutes, he pulls in this big fish. He says, "Here's your fish." So the fish I caught.
In quotation marks, yes.
But I think we actually, Mother had something frozen and we actually
There
brought
was some frozen and we must have brought it back.
it. Yeah.
That must have been after I was gone. I don't remember that.
It's right from the boat. They take it to a processing plant or a place that did
I
that.
don't know, you might have been there. We were, I would guess we were, what, about 12 and
Really?
15.
How did you get down
16.
to Ensenada?
Parents went down and
Dad drove.
I bet you rolled it with that. Because if you were,
If you don't remember it, we probably would.
Pretty bad. Unless you just left her behind in LA for some reason.
unless,
She might have had a job by then. Did you work when you were in high school?
yeah, during the summer, I don't know. Oh yeah, I worked at the Cleaners across the street.
We all worked.
We all worked
here.
at the Cleaners.
And then you also worked at Kaiser,
That was
to the drugstore.
yeah,
At
but I
Kaiser.
worked at Kaiser, but that was later. That was when I was in college.
And you worked in a bakery at one point.
That was summer, or
Summer?
Christmas vacation,
Oh, okay.
part-time job.
Oh, did you work at Helms Bakery?
Yeah.
I did that one time.
I did that too.
They had a rule at Helms Bakery. You could eat anything you wanted to, but you had to eat the whole package.
My rule was different. My rule was you can eat anything if there was a little crack on the pie or a little nick on the donut.
Yes.
Then
You
you
could
could eat it, right?
So I had chocolate donuts and I ate, I don't know, ate the whole dozen, but I was so sick then. I never wanted to see another chocolate donut.
How old were you?
Helms, the bread of champions, and they used to sponsor the Olympic Games in 1932.
But their symbol is the old
Yeah, they had the
circle,
circle.
the interlocking circle.
And they had little trucks that went around, basically selling their bakery.
That's
Also,
how they
the ice
marketed
cream
their-
guy would
their-
ring his bell. He had another ring. And
Yeah.
You used to
I
put a little
remember-
card in the window. That's when you had to stop.
I remember when we first were at our house on Cochrane, we didn't have a refrigerator. We had an ice box. We had
did?
someone who actually
Yeah.
a block of
Bit
ice.
block of ice. Yeah.
Of the milk in the ice box.
And of course, he had the seltzer water.
I remember seltzer water.
The guy from next door kind of, he basically filled big canisters with CO2, and he put a line through to our house. And we actually,
No, we had the big.
That had like a
containers.
tapper.
Like a keg?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we used to make sodas all the time.
The kids like that too.
Had those glasses, those tall glasses, but
Well,
No, yeah.
have animals on them.
So then what did you, and you had the seltzer water, then
We
you
made
used
sodas.
chocolate syrup
Yeah,
and
chocolate or raspberry,
Yeah,
or
something
strawberry, or
whatever. You had the
whatever.
syrups
We
that
had,
you could.
we had, Mother had all different kinds of syrups and different kinds of stuff to put in them, and we had sodas. We had sodas.
remember Mother made pickles in the wash tub, and there's
Yeah.
a little soap in there, so she had, I don't know how many hundreds of jars of
Of
pickles.
pickles that
They're all
tasted like soap?
Oh, they all got thrown away.
They were clean though.
How many of you know what a mangle is?
Oh, yeah.
I don't.
You don't know what a mango is? It was big, and you could put the whole garment in there and just,
The sheet, like.
which we're doing sheets.
yeah.
Sheets, yeah, but this is what, how many people iron their sheets now?
How many people?
But we used to,
How many people iron anything?
I was
That's
gonna
it.
we
say.
used to
When you
put
get
stuff
right
for
down
that
to it.
mango in there. and do
Used to
all
iron everything.
We didn't have a dryer. We had a wringer on the washing machine, and then we had a clothesline.
Yeah.
And I guess
You know what a ringer is? It's just two
I
rubber.
assume it's
Two rubber tubes.
Rollers.
Two rollers, and they
roll your
push
clothes.
close through.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Seen
and
that
because I can
used.
remember cranking the
That's right.
ringer.
And that's another one of my early memories is that when I was, I guess, maybe 3 years old,
I heard this
I
one.
put my arm through it.
Oh, jeez.
Ouch.
It's got all the juice out of it though.
Oh, I can remember then when the washing machine had a motor on it, and so the motor also ran the wringer, and being told how he had to be so careful, so you didn't.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to crank your fingers through; it's another to have a motor
Speaking
pulling
of
through.
finger,
Yes.
was anybody else ever around when Nana put the sewing machine needle through her thumb?
No.
Ooh, I don't remember that. You must have been the only one there, huh?
We were both in the house, and I hear this calling for me in the house. So I run out and see it. She's stuck to the pin on it.
Oh, ouch!
It went right through and just cut to the bone.
Oh.
But just took it out and just kept going.
Kept sewing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
Well, it got bloody, I would say. Whatever it was.
You remember that victory garden we had, where we had
Oh.
pitchfork with
Right.
the 4 little prongs.
Right. Where's your? Do you still have your
Yeah, I
scars?
have the scars here. So, and we didn't have a car, so what did we do? You know, we went up to the train stop and waited for the train, and then we went down.
Was it
Emergency
a street?
hospital,
You mean
which
a
was
street?
downtown.
Streetcar.
Yeah.
The streetcar.
Streetcar, went downtown, and, you know, I don't know how long it took, but, you know, I bled a little bit. I remember
So the
next
pitchfork.
day- Next
No,
day,
you know those three prongs,
Prongs, yeah.
3-pronged,
Like a hoe.
like a
Yeah,
hoe, but it's
yeah.
Cultivator is what it's called.
cultivator, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I got 2 of them. My leg wasn't big enough to get all 3.
yeah.
Oh,
Did you fall on it?
He
Is that
fell
what
on
happened?
I fell on it,
They
yeah.
fell on it. To this day, I remember that every time I see it in the
Well,
garden,
yeah.
and I'm always telling my kids,
Turn it over.
turn it over. You
Turn it
gotta
over.
put it in this.
Yeah, turn it over. You
In
don't
fact,
leave it with
the
crumbs
last
on.
time I said it to Mira when we were in the garden was right before we came back for Bex's button. It's from maybe it was Tom's button. I don't know some. And I said to him, when we get back to New York, you ask Uncle Jerry why I'm telling you.
Yeah, show you his scars.
Right, but I think they forgot all about it, and I forgot all about it by the time we got back there. But I told them about you. You're famous.
Should I take a picture?
Yeah.
Hey, Andy, you probably heard at the bar mitzvah. Will you tell the story of the gooseberries
Well, that's,
and the going down the hill?
that's a different, two different stories.
This is funny.
Well, it wasn't very funny at the time.
The best stories never are.
Well, seeing your 3 sons sitting across from you with their mouths open because they'd never heard it.
Never heard it. Well, we didn't tell them things like that. I mean,
So now you have to tell us.
Actually,
Well-
it's possible we did hear it since I don't remember it now either.
this was one of the trips where I was going to New Zealand. I took Judy with us, and we had been in Auckland, and we were going to drive down to Rotorua, which is, I don't know.
A couple hours.
Yeah, maybe 150 miles away. And it's a 5-hour time difference there. And it's in the afternoon, we're driving, and it's warm, but raining out. So apparently I fell asleep at the wheel. I have to assume. I used to tell people, you know, it was kind of slippery out there. That's
Yeah,
but in
okay.
reality, I fell asleep. And on the same, it was a 2-lane road, and there were all these large lumber trucks coming down with, you know, big logs. All of a sudden, I wake up, and I can't see anything.
Judy's in the car with him.
Judy's in the car, yes. Mom's in the car. I can't see a thing. The water's coming up over the windshield, so the car is spinning around, and I'm hearing bang, 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 bang.
Boom, boom.
I have the brakes on trying to stop. All I could think of is one of these lumber trucks is going to, you know, as far as I know, I was still on the road. I didn't know where I was. Well, finally we flipped around and started going back up the
And
hill.
went back upstairs.
This was a field that was maybe 20 feet below the road that we had gone down on a curve, gone down there. There was farmer's fence, and I knocked down 100 feet of fence.
Ooh.
Okay, I'm a lot of it. That was all the banging. And then we flipped around, we stopped. Fortunately, apparently, a trucker saw this and came down, and he thought we were dead after seeing it.
After seeing the ride you
But
took.
safe work. I mean,
Yeah.
Yes.
because basically, except for some bruises. So he said, well, listen, can I take you someplace? We said, yeah, get us to a phone. So we got into the truck, which is tough for 3 people to sit in one of these trucks. But we got in there, and he dropped us off at some little place, I can't remember where it was, this little gas station. And I called Avis. And I said, well, we got a little problem here. Oh, don't worry. He said, you have insurance. We'll come down and take care of it. So they drove down from Hamilton, which was, who knows what, 30, 40 miles away, with a tow truck with a brand new car in it. And they said, okay, we'll take the other back. You can drive this car. And I said, if you don't mind, I don't really feel like driving. So they left us off in, I guess, at the bus stop. We took a bus back. But ever since then, I said, if you're ever in a foreign country,
Buy the insurance.
buy the insurance.
I'll have you know, we were just in New Zealand. We bought the insurance.
Yeah, we ended up totaling that car. There wasn't much left of that car.
We checked in advance to find out whether our U.S. insurance would cover us there, and the answer was definitively not. So we went ahead and bought it. I guess you would know, Charlie.
So where are the gooseberries coming?
That's a different story.
Oh.
We got all kinds.
Well, the fence was around a gooseberry farm.
Oh.
In New Zealand, you can take a tour of the gooseberry farms. Well, it turns out that the New Zealanders are very good marketers. They had these gooseberries and they didn't know what to do with them. And they said, well, let's come up with a catchy name and we can sell them to the Americans. We call them kiwis. So
That's where kiwis
it turns out kiwis, how grow on vines
I know.
like grapes.
Yeah.
And they decided instead of calling them, they called them Chinese gooseberries. They said we'll call them kiwis and market them in the U.S. and that's.
The way they went.
Here we go, hook, line, and sinker.
Well, we also had some kiwi wine, which is atrocious.
Oh, I would think so. I think kiwis are kind of no flavor.
Oh, Arlene loves kiwis.
I like them a lot, too.
Gooseberries, you mean?
The Chinese gooseberries.
Yeah.
Good
Did we
strain.
ask Charlie if he remembers a story to tell about driving the car?
Which car?
1968 Chevrolet,
When he was 2.
brand new.
Forwards or back?
Oh, the one he popped into gear?
Yep.
You remember that, Charlie?
He's trying to.
He's trying to forget it.
No, I'm remembering a driveway with a real gentle downward slope, and
Remember a story.
yeah. Well, I was with Dad.
And he got out of the car for
He got out of
something.
the car, and he didn't realize that I was interested in driving, so
He was probably about 4.
left the car running.
Oh,
Not 13.
He was on his way to kindergarten
4, yeah.
or something.
No, he was on his way to daycare. I think he was probably about 4. I don't think he could see over the dash, could you?
Well, if I stood
Standing up.
I stood on the seat, I could.
Yeah. And of course, then you have no access to the brakes.
Well, no, that's what the oak tree is for. It was a big oak tree.
It was a big oak tree.
Anyway, the car somehow mysteriously popped
Popped
into
in.
gear or neutral or what have you. And it was a lot more interesting, I'm sure, looking out the window where Dad was watching than.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see it until it was over. I
Yeah.
was back to the car, and here was
Right.
the
As
car.
soon as I
running.
realized the car was running, moving, I opened the door and
Jumped out.
jumped out. Just as I jumped out,
The
the
wrong
car was
way in
coming
a
this
circle.
way towards me. Well, it missed me, and I stood up in time and turned around in time to see it hit a very large tree.
And Teresa was out there too, I think,
Waiting for the school
waiting
bus.
for the bus. So it's a good thing it curved and hit the tree. It might have hit Teresa.
Is that a neighbor or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where you stopped it. I don't know what you stopped there for, but
was,
you left the kid in the car
what
with
is
the
that?
motor running.
Dirkslands or Dirkies or
Deacon.
Deacon? That's it.
The landlord, actually.
Yeah, that was back at the first house.
Yep,
We were back
on
at the
Grove.
First house in Illinois.
So that puts a time frame on it right there,
Yep, it was between 60, it was,
between 67 and 68.
But yeah, Charlie was.
And I really wasn't interested in driving either, Jerry, after that.
For a long, long time. Oh dear.
Many years.
Got at least 12 years.
Yeah. Well, 8 or 9 anyway.
Yeah, for a while. Oh.
Let's see, 9 would have made you 13. Is there anything in your family's
Well,
background,
it's like
13,
mother
driving?
like daughter, father like son. Driving at 13. He didn't stop in May Company though.
Yeah.
He had to go to Rockford to get the car.
Oh my. Well, I think the best thing to say, as far as Nana's concerned, wouldn't you get a kick out of all of us sitting here talking and giggling and laughing? She would really enjoy that.
It's very number one important to both.
Wait a minute. What if, what you just said, do you really think that she'd be able to sit here and listen to the things without correcting the story that you're telling?
Well, this is true, but she would enjoy the idea of us being together, telling stories. Yeah, that's true. If she was here, the stories
She could tell us some stories we didn't know too.
we didn't know about.
Well,
Well,
listen,
Oh, I still
I'll
remember.
tell
You know,
when I take this history of Nana, I learned some things that shocked me. So,
yeah.
I mean, you've all seen
Well-
it, like she was a love child.
Well,
You know,
you didn't know that?
no, I didn't know it.
I knew that.
But see, she
I don't think
decided
we've ever
to-
heard the full story of the hitchhiking from Chicago to Los Angeles. I bet there's a lot of that we don't know anything about.
Well, but it was interesting down there where she said that they were in Phoenix or someplace, and they were some, I guess, boarding house, someplace to let them stay overnight, and some guy showed more interest than they were.
Comfortable.
Yeah, and they got out pretty quickly. So they seemed fairly innocent at the time.
But just the thought of those two.
Sandy was probably pretty wild.
I think she was the instigator.
Sandy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure she was. But it was a different time though. It was probably a whole lot safer for a couple
It
gals
was-
to
I
be
mean, it had to be
Well, it
hitchhiking.
had to be safer.
Yeah.
I mean, and there had to also be a lot of people up doing it. I mean, it was the depth of it was directly from the Depression. I mean, people were
There were
out
probably a
there.
lot of people on the
There were
road.
a lot of people on the road. There were a lot of people trying to help other people. So, I mean, you know, putting
Yeah.
it into context of time.
It's too bad they
Well, I
didn't learn
used
how to hop a
hitchhike
freight.
when I was, when I was a teenager. I hitchhiked all the time. Would you let any of your kids hitchhike now?
Yes, I would, and I do also.
Really?
No, you do not.
Yes, she
Oh,
does.
yes, I do.
Yes, she does.
One day, it was when I came to Sid's office, but I was working on putting together Jake's bar mitzvah service. I would go to his office and use the scanner. And so I left his office and I was going to take a bus to go home because I had driven him
Listen
with
to
me.
this. Listen to this story.
And I mean, this is just 2 years ago, or last year. So I get to the corner and I see the bus, and I make this mad dash trying to catch the bus, and it just went red. The signal changed, and it just kept going. And so I get across this. This is one of those big streets, you know, Bussington or so. I get across the street, and there's a truck that had pulled
Pickup
out,
truck.
a pickup truck. The guy rolls down the window.
Are there two of them?
There's two guys. And one of the passenger seat rolls down the window, and he said, I saw you missed your bus. He says, do you want a ride? And I said, are you going to Santa Monica? And he said, yeah. So I said, sure. So I got in the truck with these two guys, two Hispanic guys, and the guy said to the guy in the passenger seat said, I don't believe it. He says, I told my friend, he said, that you would never get in the truck with us. I said, hi. He said, "No." He says, I trust you. And I said, you know, at first I was just, you know, we were going to catch the bus. He says, well, I'm going to Sears. I says, oh, you can drop me off then at my house. So I had to drop me off on Pico. I didn't have to take me, they didn't know where I lived. He dropped me off on Pico. And that was just 2 years ago. So, yes,
Well, that's you.
that's me.
Would you let your grandchildren go hitchhiking?
I'm being a giant for sure.
Hello.
Well, I was.
And I don't know, I just have I think that if they assess the situation and they felt that it was a safe thing for them to do, then I would trust their judgment to do it. I guess I just have a Pollyanna feeling, maybe? I don't know. I trust them.
I was at the grocery store a few weeks back, and oh, here we go. All right.
Only fair about
Excuse me. Let me get ready for that.
Not sure that helped, but
Oh, yeah, well. feel the love.
Well, your brother's on here. I had to jump in.
It's okay, Karen's here.
You don't have to look at the camera, none of us are.
Oh, okay. So, no, I was at the grocery store and I came out and there was a woman holding a bunch of groceries who approached me and said, would you give me a ride home? And I said, huh? And she explained that she'd gotten a ride here, she got in the groceries and it was a long walk back and would I mind? No, I don't mind. So I gave her a ride home. And that was it.
That's it, and that's it. And why not? I mean, it's a friendly thing to do. And I've given people rides also.
Yeah. So that's the whole story.
That's the whole thing?
Yeah, that's right.
Let's cut that.
And so they're still looking for bodies on the ranch that Manson's raised.
Right, and I realize that it's a risky thing to do, I really do. But
Well, there are a lot of
That's
people
the situation.
who come around and ring your doorbell or something and say, gee, my car broke down.
that's a scam.
$20,
yeah.
That we don't fall for.
So,
Some people give it to them on purpose anyway.
We give to people who are doing certain kinds of holding up signs on street corners or whatever. But that gas scam is something that we don't usually give to.
Well, lately I've been, if somebody wants a ride or money to get a hot dog or hamburger or something for lunch, or need to get someplace in the city, I just say, well, no problem, just get in and we'll take you there. So I got a feeling some guy who was about 8 miles away from where he wanted to be when he got done.
Well, so somebody came
We
here.
took him over to the Greyhound bus station and planted him.
No, there's a guy who came to the house. Do you remember that? Karen? Somebody came to the house here, and I'm a very gullible person. It didn't occur to me that it was a scam. And I said, okay, I'll take you home. I got out and got in the car and started driving. And I said, where are we going? And kept trying to get directions from him, and we eventually ended up about half a mile that way before he said, well, this is a good place to meet him out. By then, I'd figured it out. But anyway.
Yep.
We used to do camping in a motorhome. And one night, 2 o'clock in the morning, we were just knocking on the door. Can you please help me? Can you please help me? Woke us up, so I went and opened the camper door, and she says, we just need $3 to get some gas. I said, why 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, she says, we don't have any gas. I said, I'm sorry, go try someone else. It was a scam.
Yeah.
It was a scam.
And besides which, don't wake me up at 3 a.m. and ask me for something.
That was not too smart for them.
That wasn't very bright. Even if I were inclined to be generous, I wouldn't be at 3 o'clock in the morning after you woke me up.
Well, Charlie, do you remember we reminiscing with your mom, your dad, that we came by the farm and picked you up?
In that Winnebago?
Yeah, right. And we had Nana and Grandpa with us also.
Was that the time when we got off the freeway and we ended up right behind you on the way to Friday night services?
well, one time, we came from the bar about mitzvahs.
Right, we came from the bar mitzvah. Was the bar mitzvah? And we had Nana and Grandpa with us in the camper van.
Was that the time we had the
No.
thunderstorm?
Yeah, it might have been.
Yeah, we pulled over.
Oh, I don't know if he
Were
was.
you with us? We pulled.
No, that was in
Oh, that was
Colorado.
a different
Yeah,
time.
because
Okay.
he went east. He didn't
Right,
go.
and
Right,
then when we
right.
stopped to see them on the farm, and then we picked up Charlie and brought him with us in the van to do that.
I think you had the camper van at Dan's bar mitzvah. Did you bring it out more than once? Okay.
Yeah, twice.
All right. I remember it being on Foxdale Road. That's where we lived, and I had these relatives pouring out of the van in front of our house. It was quite strange.
It was huge. I mean, it was big.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was just big because I was a kid. Was it really
No,
big?
it was big.
Okay.
It was huge.
No, we had 8 of us in there.
Yeah.
That was huge.
Yeah.
I remember trying to drive that through Chicago, the streets of Chicago. That was scary.
Wonder, bet you couldn't afford to drive one of those
I
around the
was just going
block.
to say,
Well,
it's
it's 6
No.
miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
And $3 for gas wouldn't be
$3?
$4.
$4.
Oh, yeah, but I'm thinking of your story when
Yeah.
someone asked for $3 for gas. That's,
Yeah, it wouldn't get very far, would you?
no, right.
Okay.